Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir, CICC licensed immigration consultant, and we love doing these weekly roundups where we can talk about different things that have been happening in Canadian immigration, right? Uh, what happened this week? Well, nothing much, to be very honest, except for more people leaving Canada, more reports of how fewer people are coming to Canada, more reports of more people trying desperate measures and in the process uh, adopting more fraudulent activities. We're basically seeing a lot of it. If you are part of our Facebook groups, if you are part of our Twitter accounts, if you are part of our Instagram channel, then obviously you're aware of things like this that keep happening. And if you're not, then I would only request that you please do subscribe to those channels so that you can be abreast with what's happening in those on those fronts as well. For this particular week, we will go through our weekly roundup, and then we will talk about express entry. Now, express entry. Now, this is obviously where we are. It's the race to the end now, right? End of this year, basically. And while this whole year started with so much of hope, and the hope still exists, but it's the mood is quite damp right now. Everybody's quite concerned. People are quite worried. Things are not looking hunky-dory in most situations, in most cases. Why? Because simply uh, draws for CEC class have come to pretty much of a halt. Earlier, what IRCC was doing, at least they were inviting 1,000 people, right? And it was like a consolation prize that they were giving us, saying, okay, I'm giving you 1,000 invitations while I'm also continuing to do category draws. That's what they were looking at doing earlier. And somehow even that has come to a stop. But does that mean there is no more CEC? Does that mean IRCC is not looking to invite any more people? That's not really the case. Uh, I've said this before, and I'm saying it again, that I again, when I'm saying I means it's my opinion, right? Because that's from where I speak, and my opinion says that there should be, even in the last three months of this year, there should be approximately 15 to 20,000 invitations more in the bag with IRCC for the Canadian experience class. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in Canada focus continues to be the target for in Canada focus for this year was 82,000. For next year, it's slightly lower. Very quickly taking a look at that, but it still will be in the range of how much is it? I think 70,000 supplementary. We're looking at supplementary immigration levels plan. It would still be in the range of 75,000. Just very quickly taking a look. Where is the number? Sometimes you just keep losing track of these numbers. Okay, so for this year, the in Canada focus, and let me put it on the screen as well, so that we all can take a look at it, right? So for this year, the in Canada focus target was 82,980. For next year, 2026, the in Canada focus is 75,830. So we will lose about 7,000 slots there. And for the following year, we will lose 5,000 slots. And then the target is 70,930. Whereas the federal economic priorities, which are basically your category draws, this year is 41,700, next year 47,400, and the following year 47,800. So to the next year, it's actually increasing. And so the 7,000 slots that we are losing in Canada focus is actually contributing to the category bucket. Now, what is even more relevant here is that these numbers are probably going to change, and they will change when we get to end of October, end of next month. So that is when we are anticipating that the new immigration levels plan is announced for 2026, 2027, 2028, for the next 3 years. Of course, there is such a serious anti-immigration, sentiment that is ongoing, and that is going to impact the immigration numbers as well. At least that's what I think. However, they have already managed to achieve the drop in the temporary residence numbers that they were looking for. Not entirely, but if I will show you some statistics, I'll show you some numbers, but by and large, the number of temporary residents coming into Canada has already dropped significantly. But the number of permanent resident, as they had envisioned, as they had envisaged, so that number is pretty much what they're looking at. For this year, 2025, the targets that you're seeing on your screen in Canada focus 82,980 and federal economic priorities of 41,700. Again, I feel, or rather, I believe that this number, this target has already been achieved. And this is primarily because when we came from 24 into 25 earlier this year, so you can watch my video from January this year, they had already announced, or rather it has already been indicated that they had more than 70,000 people who were in the inventory process, right? So those were the applications that had to still be finalized. And there were obviously some more that they had just accepted between November and December. More people had just been accepted going into January as well. So that number of 70,000 was quite higher. So, as this whole year has progressed, and they have been looking to complete the francophone immigration applications as soon as possible. So even now, if you submit an application under the francophone immigration, French immigration categories, your applications are processed very, very quickly, very, very fast. And recently, we have also seen the Canadian experience class applications being processed very quickly. That pretty much tells you that this year's targets are on spot, on the line, and they're pretty much achieved. So whatever invitations that are being issued now are from the next year's target. So if we see next year's target in Canada, focus is for roughly 75,830. So if I look at 75,830, and also, please just note that if they achieve the target, that doesn't mean they stop the draws. So the reason why you're not seeing the Canadian experience class draws is not because they have achieved the target. It is simply because they were conducting category draws. And again, if you're part of our channels and if you're been watching these videos, I've been telling you that whenever in the draw cycle, they will have a category based draw, then obviously for that week, you will not see Canadian experience class draw. And also, when we laid our hands on these ATIP notes, which gave an indication of what draws, how many invitations that they're looking to issue. And for trades, they mentioned 8,300. For healthcare, they mentioned 8,000. For education, they mentioned 3,000. And then there was a lot of redacted sections, so we couldn't really see if they had what numbers they had planned for STEM category or food and agriculture. So we couldn't get the information on that one. However, I would assume that there should be at least one more cycle of category draw somewhere around the corner. Could be next week, could be maybe a couple of weeks later or a few weeks down the line. Or whenever that happens, again, you might see that you might have another lull or another gap of CEC draws. So overall, signs are that there are some large size express entry CEC class draws in the bag, on the horizon, at least the way I look at it. And that should bring your CEC draw, CEC scores. I know 534 right now, that's what Canadian experience class draw is, or rather express entry draw is. And that is extremely demotivating, disheartening, depressing, discouraging, and all the D words that you can bring out. And that probably will not give you too much of faith, or rather have you put your faith in express entry. However, express entry is the backbone of the economic immigration process, and it will continue. As of right now, they're not replacing it, right? So this will continue. And even as you move into the next year, these draws will continue the way they are. One of the reasons why you are seeing the bunch of all these category draws clubbed together is primarily because they haven't conducted the category draws for most of these categories throughout the year. There was this 2.5, 3 months lull that we had earlier when they took away the job offer points. So it's like a give or take, right? So they are giving us the advantage of no more 50 points for job offer, and in the bargain they are taking away the flexibility or the advantage of regular express entry draws. Therefore, the CEC draws, I feel, will continue, of course, and there are some big size draws in the bag, which hopefully they start, the sooner the better. And whenever that starts, of course, you can start seeing your draws, the scores coming down. Anything in the range of 520s, I feel absolutely is a no-brainer that they should get invited. Now, when we come to that number between 510 and 520, that is where it gets tricky. The more the number of invitations and more frequently the draws happen, you see the scores coming down. The the less frequency of draws or the smaller number of draws is when the things become a bit tricky over there. And therefore, in this particular scenario, all we can do is hope and pray that IRCC conducts some back-to-back draws. Well, they've done it. There is precedence there. They've done it in the past, and that is where we are hoping that they would be going at least issuing some back-to-back draws so that we can get these scores back in control, right? Anything in five below 510 is looking pretty dicey at this point of time. We'll only have to wait until we hit the end of this year, probably next year, and then seeing how frequently IRCC. Always remember the draws, if you're expecting, you're anticipating the scores to come down, it will always be directly proportional, directly be related to the fact of how frequently IRCC is conducting the draws and how many invitations they're issuing. It's a no-brainer. I mean, uh, if you'll ask me for predictions, I don't know, because I do not know how frequently the draws will be and how many the invitations are. So there is no way, forget me, anybody out there cannot predict all these apps that you are nowadays subscribing to, you're looking at and thinking, okay, these apps can give you what the scores are going to be. No, they're just taking data from the previous draws and adding and subtracting some and just throwing out a number at you. At the end of the day, nobody knows how many invitations IRCC will issue and how frequently the draws will be. So your guess is as good as mine or anybody else's for that matter, because we are all in the dark and we are all hoping and praying. Of course, playing the speculation game, because we all like doing that. But that's pretty much it. Now, as far as PNPs are concerned, now PNP was a huge worry the whole year this year, right? Full whole year of 2025, PNPs continue to be a concern. And the reason for that is because it was like Mark Miller had taken away the toys from the provinces, right? Uh, Provinces refused to toe the line, refused to play goody goody with the federal government when Mark Miller had asked the provinces to take some refugees away from Ottawa and Toronto. They refused to help with that, and they said we don't need people. So then what Mark Miller did is, like just like with any parent trying to punish the children, right, giving them time out, he basically just took away their toys and said, okay, if you don't need the people, then you obviously don't need the PNP quotas as well. And he slashed the quotas by 50%. Now we have the new sheriff in town who is pretty much an absentee sheriff. I'm talking about Lena Diab. She is our immigration minister, but I mean, have you heard from her? Because I haven't. And of whatever small clips that we have seen of her in the parliament, they don't really instill a lot of confidence in what she would be coming up with. But again, we do not know what is happening behind closed doors and what they are looking at, what they're planning to do, what they are preparing in terms of the quotas that will be announced or the targets that will be announced end of this year. So we'll have to wait and see. However, I feel that PNP targets will be reset. When I'm saying reset means because this new government, this new Mark Carney government is all about playing in support with the provinces. This is not like what we had earlier with Justin Trudeau and with Mark Miller. This government is very happy playing a very collaborative, supportive game with the provinces, and therefore I'm quite certain that's how it's probably going to get played out. You will see the PNP quotas being restored as in what they were earlier. And because the PNP quotas will be restored, now that is where I get a bit wary, because if the PNP, so this is what happened, right? And let me bring this screen back for you. In this particular screen, you have in Canada focus for this year 82,980, and the PNP quotas, which obviously are, where did the PNP quotas go? Here. Sorry, here, right? PNP quotas for this year, for the next year and the following year, as per this immigration levels plan, was 55,000. Now, if they are going to increase this number of 55,000, then it is going to impact this number 82,980. It has to, right? The reason for that is the total immigration targets cannot go down. Okay, cannot go up. Sorry, cannot go up. They're not going to increase the immigration targets, right? There is too much of anti-immigration sentiment in the market, and if they are not going to increase the numbers, but they are going to reset the provincial nominee program targets. So and the original target was 110,000 from the previous year. So if they have to bring this number up to 110,000, where are the 55,000 going to come from? Very interesting, isn't it? So what are they going to take off to make this 55,000 back to 110,000? Very, very interesting. So are they going to reduce the spouses or the grandparents, parents? I don't know. Are they going to take away some federal economic priorities? I don't know. Because then the chunk is here in 47,400 and in 75,830. Now, mind you, the low range of these targets is 30,000 and 33,000. They could very much play again in line with this. So if at all they reset the PNP targets, it is directly going to impact the CECs and the category draws, because that's the only place I can see them taking some numbers from. They may choose to take some numbers from HNC and the refugee numbers. I don't expect a lot, because this number pretty much stays the same. They may take some numbers out from the protected persons, resettled refugees, probably, or the humanitarian compassionate ground, but that number is not too high anyways. But I don't see where else can they bring those 55,000 from. So this one is going to be very interesting as to when they do decide to come out with the numbers. But I feel provinces will get their quotas back. And if the quotas are taken away, and that number is going to impact CECs. And if it is impacting CECs, means the quotas for the next year for CECs will drop. And if that numbers drop, the number of invitations will drop. And again, that is what makes me think that could that be one of the reasons why they are looking at fewer invitations right now? Though I still feel 15 to 20,000 invitations should be in the bag. But that is the reason why I'm also downplaying. I'm not saying there are more 30,000. Last year, they should have been inviting about 40,000 CECs. This year, they've invited only 20,000 so far. 20,850, I think that's the number, give or take. So is that one of the reasons why they are looking to not give out that many CECs? That only time will tell, I guess, and that time is not too far. It's probably about a month's time from now. 1st of November before 1st of November is when the new immigration levels plan will be announced. No, I'm not trying to create any fear, but the idea is to let the numbers talk, and that's the only way we can get an idea of what the hell the whole plan is and how we can then strategize around it. PNP numbers definitely going up for sure. 55,000 was too less. Provinces were very, very unhappy. This government wants to play along with the provinces, so the numbers will go up. May not go to 110 because I don't see much room here. But even if it doesn't go to 110, they will still increase the numbers. When they increase the numbers, they have to take it off from somewhere. I don't see much room here except for the in Canada focus and the federal economic priorities. So that number will take a hit. If that number takes a hit, you will see direct impact on the CEC invitations. And therefore, guys, you still have a chance. You still have time. The sooner you can get your scores up, the better it would be. And for anybody who's looking at PNPs, this would be an opportunity. Then you will then be able to take advantage of. From now on itself, if you are already waiting for a PNP, you're already waiting for the employer support, then you may as well get that in order, get that sorted out, so that you can complete your period of work, whether it's 6 months or 1 year in that province, so that you can get the employer support. They can get your name into the draws or into the pool, depending on which province you are in, and then hopefully you can take advantage. That's how it is looking at this point of time. I do anticipate at least a couple of more category draws. I do anticipate a French category draw as well within the next 3 months for sure. And one of the reasons why French category draws will continue, and a lot of people have been like, why are so many French draws happening? Well, one of the reasons is because IRCC has indicated through the ATIP notes, and that's how we come to know whatever is going on with IRCC, right? They're not the ones who are going to come out and tell us what they are planning. And they did indicate that the number of refusal, the average decision making rate as far as the francophone immigration is concerned, the number of refusal is very high. And because the refusal rate is very high with the francophone immigration applications, in order to meet their target at the end of the year, they have had to issue more invitations, and they will continue to do so. The reasons for refusal are quite a few, actually, but at the end of the day, if they are not able to get to that target that they have for the end of this year, then they will obviously issue out more invitations, and whenever those invitations come out, it is going to impact CEC draw cycles as well. Now, technically, looking at the remainder of the year, you technically, I mean, of course, you have 3 more months, and you're looking at a draw next week. Okay, so if I look at a draw next week, and then on the 15th of October, and then on the 29th of October, so October can pretty much have 3 draw cycles, which is not bad. And then November is going to have 2, and then December can possibly have 2. Okay, so you're looking at roughly 4 and 3, 7 draw cycles. In the 7 draw cycles, you are anticipating at least 1 to 2 category draw cycles. So that will give you between 4 or 5 CEC draw cycles. Now, 4 or 5 CEC draw cycles, if they are looking to issue out about 15 to 20,000 invitations in the remainder of the 2025, you are looking for a draws of about 3,500 to 6,000 invitations per draw, anywhere that number falls. And that's what will help us get to that 15 to 20,000 mark. That's what I'm thinking. And at the time, so the first 1 or 2 draws that might happen for CECs, don't expect the scores to drop to 5, 15s, 20s kind of a thing. Expect the drop to the drop will not be too drastic because of the pile up that has collected over all this, because the pile up that we now have in the pool with the scores that are coming through. More and more people keep getting added. We have been talking about the importance of foreign work experience. We've been talking about French language scores. We were talking about the fact of how CLB 9s and people are getting the CLB 10s now. So with all of that, and so many people with the profile who have completed their masters in Canada, CLB 9s and 10s, foreign work experience, these are genuine, legit profiles who are now waiting for their chance in the pool. So don't expect the scores to drop very drastically, very quickly, unless, of course, unless IRCC goes just bonkers, and they've done it in the past. March of 2023, they issued out 21,000 invitations in a span of 2 weeks. If IRCC does something of that sort, I would really love to see that happen. But if IRCC does something like that crazy in this year as well, you can see the numbers going down below 510. If not, I don't see scores going down below 510 at all, at least for this year or even early next year. Now, again, as I said, frequency will decide. And from there on, as far as the category draws are concerned, category draws, I do anticipate another trade category draw. I do feel that there could be a small draw for healthcare. French, I definitely feel there should be a draw there. And I know a lot of you have been anticipating a STEM and a food and agriculture. I don't see any reason why that shouldn't happen. That was part of the categories, and it is still part of the categories on IRCC's website. So there could be a draw in each of those categories as well. So given these categories that the anticipation is there, 2 draw cycles will be gone for categories. So out of 7, if 2 are gone, probably the third one as well, in combination with one CEC draw of a small number. With the 2.5 draw cycles with categories, you will have roughly 4.5 for CEC. So that's what I am thinking as far as the remainder of 2025 is concerned. Let's hope for the best and stay forever hopeful. Going for our weekly roundup, running through this very, very quickly. PNP draws did happen. Prince Edward Islands did conduct their draw on the 19th of September. Now, very interesting with this draw was that the focus was of on people who were employed in priority sectors and who were also international graduates from the Holland College and College Day L and UPEI. Forgive me, my French is not all that jazz. Alberta also conducted three key immigration draws. They invited on the 17th law enforcement pathway candidates, 56 points, and 10 invitations were sent out. On the 16th of September, they invited under the accelerated tech pathway. Hey, that program is still alive and kicking. The score was not that high, to be very honest. It's a pretty decent score, 55 points. 320 invitations were sent out. So IT tech guys, you still have a chance. There you go, Alberta Accelerated Tech Pathway, keeping the IT dream alive as far as Canada immigration is concerned. And on the 12th of September, you also had an Alberta Opportunity Stream where they invited 1,113 people with score of 63. This year, 235,000 fewer people have arrived in Canada as temporary residents between January to July. So they're basically working with those numbers, and those numbers are working for them. 7,685 fewer students in July, but overall between January to July, 98,000 fewer students have come into Canada this year. So this is all these refusals that have been handing out. That's all working for them. Also, new arrivals. This is between workers, so people who are on temporary foreign worker program or open work permits who've been coming to Canada. 137,000 fewer people came to Canada between January to July. Again, this is the impact of IRCC not giving spouse open work permits anymore. And of course, also a lot of applications that are getting the LMIs, but also being refused. But let's take a look at this one. Total number of temporary residents in Canada. About 500,000, about 500,000 people who have a study permit in Canada. Then about 1.5 million people in Canada who hold a work permit. Okay. And then you have approximately 300,000 people who have a work permit and a study permit. Yes, it is possible to hold two permits at the same point of time. So, and these are data statistics as per 31st of July. And then there are a lot of people whose statuses have expired, who are on dummy extensions, or who are on that restoration period, who are on visitor records, or applying for statuses there, or who are just primarily on a visitor status in Canada. That number, of course, IRCC somehow doesn't record. We don't have that number, but I am assuming that number is pretty high as well. And of course, then there are undocumented workers as well, undocumented individuals. So that number is touted at approximately 1 million. So this number on your screen is roughly, what is this? 2.3 million, 2.3 million people who have valid status. Then there are people who are in the restoration period, who have applied for visitor record, who have applied for dummy extensions, right? Those obviously are not recorded in this, and that number could be huge. I would say approximately 500,000. And then there are visitors in Canada who are actively looking for opportunities, few 100,000 there as well. So approximately 3 million people, you would agree, right? I mean, I'm not saying it, numbers are saying it, right? You would agree there are about 3 million people. If there are 3 million people in Canada who are looking for opportunities to become permanent resident, and the annual immigration quotas is only roughly 385,000, and that is including parents, grandparents, spouses, refugees, agencies, etc. Economic pathway only 230 to 235,000 people. So what do you think are the chances for everybody? It's only less than 10% of the people who are currently in Canada will have an opportunity, will have a chance to actually get through with the process and become permanent resident. Let that reality sink in, because even today, if you go on LinkedIn, if you go on Instagram, if you go on Twitter, you go on any social media platforms, even now people are telling you 6 months PR. And I mean, very recently somebody sent me a post of one of these agents who is selling startup visa. Even now, have you seen the process times of startup visa? Startup visa processing time is now 400 months plus. High refusal rates. And this guy is still selling startup visa, saying 15 lakh रुपए में मैं तुमको letter of support दिलवा दूंगा. I mean, yeah, in 15 lakh rupees you can get somebody a letter of support, but what are the chances of these guys actually getting through with the startup visa? Or I saw another video of somebody saying, I will get you a C10 work permit or C11 work permit. C10, C11 work permits, yes, you may be able to get a work permit if you establish a business or if you are providing significant benefit, but it does not lead to a permanent resident pathway. There are still people who are selling, there is somebody, I think, on Instagram somewhere, who's trying to sell 8 lakh rupees may work permit and then buy a property and you will become PR. And like, where are these possibilities? If you try to go through the rural uh, entrepreneur streams in Alberta, British Columbia, have you seen how many quotas these provinces have? Have you seen how how rarely do the provinces even conduct these kind of draws for them, and what is a small number? And then you try and sell these programs and all these ridiculous. But again, I don't blame these guys who are selling these programs. Why not, right? It's open market, anybody can sell whatever. People have been selling snake oils and all kinds of what was that? Yeah, I don't want to say that. People have been selling all kinds of oils for different remedies for donkey years, and if today these people are doing it, no big deal. The problem is with you. You are the ones who are paying the money. You are the ones who are buying into this stupid, silly schemes without even going through the basic research, without even understanding whether it really works. Because if it really worked, these 3 million people, are they really stupid? Are they really dumb sitting in Canada and they haven't figured out a pathway, and they haven't figured out a way to do this? And you, smart Alex, sitting outside Canada, has managed to pay this money and be able to do it. Think, guys, think, right? This is your hard earned money. Listen, you want to spend it, you want to blow it up, of course it's your money, by all means go ahead and do it, but be more sensible with your own money. And Canada is not the end of the world. There are lots of other countries, there are lots of options. Maybe going back to your own home country might not be a bad idea after all. At least, if nothing else, it improves your scores, it increases your points, right? So even that might just help. This was another interesting one, the fake 2-year open work permit scam, which caught my eye. Now, uh, I I know there are some other videos that I have seen which says that consultants are creating fake profiles to keep the scores high because they want to sell LMIAs. Now, for example, by creating fake profiles and inflating the scores, how do I know people will come to buy LMIA only to me? In order to do that, I would have to come out and start speaking about it openly or sell LMIAs openly. So no matter what kind of a big nexus or mafia that I might have, the chances of me trying to sell those LMIAs, which honestly, to be very honest, as of today, is the LMIAs are not being approved. There is a very high negative sentiment against LMIAs and the temporary foreign worker program. Even ESDC, even Service Canada, is not approving LMIAs that easily. And for a consultant, first of all, I mean, how do you know everybody will only come lining up outside your door buying LMIAs from you? I mean, LMIA is not Moongfali, right? I mean, that only you are the one who's selling it on this romantic viewpoint, and everybody will have to only buy it from you. It's not like that, right? So at the end of the day, and it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort creating thousands of fake profiles just to keep the scores high, pushing everybody out. But that's what I was always of the opinion that that is not happening, because at least, I mean, I couldn't see any sense in somebody trying to do it until I came across this intelligent person who has, again, you see, this is what happens when people become desperate. They look for desperate options, they look for they look for any option. And this guy found a perfect loophole. He said, okay, if your status is expiring, I will give you 2 years of work permit, or I know a way to get you a 2-year work permit. And fools, stupid people actually paid money and got involved in this scam. What is a scam? This guy, what he would do is he would create their express entry profiles, But again, this number is too small. So don't think that because of this, the pool scores are high. That's not how it is. This number is, again, very, very small. It can't be that high. I mean, I don't expect a lot of people to be this stupid, but that numbers are there, of course. So this person would create their express entry profile, would put incorrect age. So you can change your date of birth, right? Incorrect age, incorrect English language scores, fake work experiences, fake educations. I mean, combinations, permutations and combinations of all of this, so that people could get more points, get an ITA, very quickly submit a bridge open work permit, very quickly submit their PR application. After submitting the PR application, then submit their bridge open work permit. Now, when you submit the bridge open work permit, one, you get onto the maintain status, and your bridge open work permit, if you are lucky, will get processed and approved, depending on the processing time. Right now, the processing time is very long. It's about 5 months. A lot of people still believe that the bridge open work permit becomes invalid if your PR application is refused. That is not true. Your bridge open work permit is given to you, and it has its own validity. And that validity does not become invalid. The bridge open work permit does not become invalid if your PR application is refused. And this is the loophole that this smart person tried to take advantage of, and in the bargain got into trouble some very naive and silly, stupid people. By disclosing or by declaring false information in your application, you have now invited big problems in your application. Application definitely will get refused, but now you are also opened a big door for misrepresentation, because this is intentional misrepresentation, landing you with a 5-year ban. I'm surprised people actually bought into it. But the reason why they bought into it is because this guy never told them how he was going to do it. He just took their information, took their profiles, created it for them, submitted their PR applications, created their bridge open work permits, and gave them the maintained status letter saying you are now on maintained status. Once this work permit is approved, you will have your 2 years work permit. That's the modus operandi, and that is what people are falling into. So as I say, right, desperate times, desperate measures. But these kind of desperate measures are not good measures, because you are now effectively closing doors to Canada for 5 years minimum. And once you have a 5-year ban, the chances of you actually making it back pretty difficult anyway. So before you fall into these too good to be too true scams, know it. Do your research. Just don't go around paying money. I mean, how many times you have to tell you don't go around paying money? I mean, but really, sometimes people, you have to really understand that things are difficult. They will continue to be difficult. But if you buy into such kind of schemes, then you have only yourself to blame. That's primarily all I have for you for today, for this week's weekly roundup. Thank you so much for connecting with us. We are all over social media. We are there everywhere. And by all means, please do subscribe to the channels. If you wish to book an appointment one-on-one, if you want to hire us as your representative, because hey, you know what? I'm a CIC licensed immigration consultant. We do run an immigration company. We do represent clients for all immigration applications. support@askkubeir.com. Please drop us an email. We'll be very, very happy to help you with our services that we offer. And if you wish to book an appointment to discuss your queries, your questions, your doubts, your PFLs, of course, askkubeir.com/appointment. Now, PFLs, we have the number of PFLs and the responses that we have done is incredible. I mean, for the last 3 months, it has become like a season of PFLs. On an average, I have come across at least one PFL every single day for the last 3 to 4 months. Of course, the majority of them have been spouse, not accompanying PFLs, and that problem still persists, still continues. But I've also seen PFLs for proof of work experience, proof of funds, lack of documentation, family information. I've also seen some PFLs. That's how I figured out about this agent guy, right? PFL for misrepresentation, actually quite a few misrepresentation PFLs. I've also seen a lot of refusals. People come to us discussing their situation, wanting to do reconsiderations, wanting to do judicial reviews. I mean, we don't do judicial reviews. We have associate lawyers who we do pass it on to, but they would like to know what their options are in terms of the remedies or the legal remedies in case of refusals. I would have thought by now people would be smarter and would understand that knock codes have to be taken very, very seriously. Okay, somebody is asking, what is a PFL? PFL stands for Procedural Fairness Letter. My bad, I shouldn't assume everybody knows what the acronyms are. So PFL stands for Procedural Fairness Letter. This is the letter IRCC sends out before they wish to refuse an application. And they don't have to send out procedural fairness letter every single time. So for example, if you do not provide a mandatory document upfront, for example, you don't provide a police clearance, you don't provide sufficient employment documents upfront, you choose incorrect knock code, IRCC does not have to send you procedural fairness letter. Okay, procedural fairness letters are sent when there is an instance where they have a concern, they have a doubt, and they are looking for additional information, evidence, where you may or may not be able to provide, and that's why they're giving you a reason, or they want to get more clarity on your situations. Before they refuse your application, they are sending you procedural fairness letter. And so backtracking to what I was saying, one of the reasons why a lot of applications are still getting refused, this one really shocked me, because I would have thought by now, if you're watching my videos and if you're following me, or if you're part of a Facebook group, you would know knock codes are the most critical factor in your application. Not choosing correct knock code is a disaster waiting to happen, and there is no PFLs. IRCC doesn't have to ask you for additional documents. Your application will be refused right away. Okay, so please choose your knock code correct. If you have to spend time on your application, the most amount of time should be spent on choosing the correct knock code. I mean, I can't emphasize on this. And second thing, which still shocks me, is you guys don't know police clearance certificate is required, and sometimes you don't know the exact requirements. You are providing incorrect police clearances, especially in the case of Australian police clearance. You should know by now that you also need driving record, and if you haven't been driving there, you don't have a driving license, you never had a car, then you are supposed to provide no driving record. It is a mandatory requirement. Always check IRCC website to see what the updated requirements might be for that specific country, that specific document. I can't stress on this enough. Now, interesting question somebody is asking, and at what stage does the PFL come? Is it during background checks? It is at any stage of your application you can get a PFL. Okay, whenever the immigration officer has decided that time has come in your application of what they have discovered, that they have to now refuse your application. That's it. That's the only thing. That's the only cue that they need to refuse your application. But the system says that they have to send you a procedural fairness letter, so they're going to send you one. Even after P1, now people asking what is P1? P1 is Portal 1. For people who are inside Canada, they get this email from IRCC which says confirm you're inside Canada. And once you do that, then they send you P2 or Portal 2, which is basically access to your permanent residence portal, where you upload your photograph and confirm your address, and then they go ahead and send you your ECOPR, whereby then you become a permanent resident. PFLs come even after P1, even after P2, and even after ECOPR has been generated and issued, with a frantic emails from IRCC saying that we are cancelling your COPR, and here you have a procedural fairness letter. Please explain this, please clarify this, else we will refuse your application. So there are instances where people who are outside Canada, their PPR, passport request, was issued. They have a visa stamped on their passport. They have been given the COPRs. They were supposed to fly out, let's say in 2 days' time, and they have got a email from IRCC saying, we have cancelled your visa. We are issuing you a PFL. Do not travel. First, give us this clarification. It could be for different reasons. P1, P2s are rare. I'm not saying that they happen frequently. They are very rare, but they do happen. And therefore, your application, I mean, yeah, do it yourself. Of course, no problem with it. There are tons and tons and tons of resources, YouTube videos, platforms, Facebook group to figure out the answers. The worst place of all these social media platforms that I have seen is Reddit, because yeah, there is such trash advice on Reddit that it is unbelievable. So that, in my opinion, again, is the worst place to go for any information if you're looking for. Preferably try and go to close knit communities. Facebook groups is one. There are a lot of you will see a lot of past inquiries, past questions, solutions in a Facebook group that may work with you. When in doubt, of course, if nothing else, I'm not saying hire a lawyer or a consultant, not saying that, but you can always book a consultation. You can talk to somebody, not me, could be anybody. You could always book a consultation with them, get information. There are a lot of consultants, lawyers who also offer second pair of eyes. We offer second pair of eyes service, whereby just before the submission, we review the entire documents, entire application, so that you can submit at much fraction of the cost for the entire application handling. I'm sure lots of other lawyers, consultants are also offering that service. So again, this could be your one-time opportunity. This may not come again. You might not get invited again. So if that doesn't happen, well, you might be in a situation where you would have lost that opportunity. Okay, I have a question. I don't know how that came up on my screen, but chances of HCP and pharmacy assistant being included, I do not know being included where. HCP, well, the hope and the expectation is that the human capital priorities draw would happen. I don't expect it this year. I mean, of course, it can happen. I don't anticipate human capital priorities draw this year. And the reason for that I don't anticipate is probably because of that 55,000 quota limit that Ontario has for this year. But I mean, I'm sure most of these quotas that they have, they will now be generated towards next year's numbers. So human capital priorities probably end of this year, maybe not, or next year for sure, once their quotas are reinstated. As far as pharmacy assistant is being concerned, I don't know. I can't tell you whether that occupation will be included or not. CEC 528, is it advisable to get PCC done in Canada before ITA flying to India after a month for 28 days? Should I get it from there? Well, in your case, considering where your country of residence would be indicated as when you will be submitting your application, you have to do your police clearance in that manner. If you are going to be showing your country of residence in Canada, then you should return back to Canada and then get another PCC and then submit your PR application. Non-EEISSS PR form. Okay, so this is actually a very good question and something I think a lot of people are not aware of or are not doing it. And this is for a non-express entry PR application, do you need proof of funds? Well, the answer is, as per the document checklist, as per the requirement, no, you don't. However, so the way IRCC operates is that they will at some point of time come back and ask you to show proof of funds. And people are always saying, oh, well, you don't need proof of funds. You don't need to provide it. That is incorrect. The requirement under non-express entry, or for that matter, any PR application, is that you, an applicant, are able to economically establish yourself in Canada. That is the premise under which your PR application is approved. And this is a case with a lot of master's graduate, PhD graduate stream, especially in Ontario. With most streams which are employer driven, you have your employment activity which satisfies that requirement. But technically, proof of funds is not required technically. However, my recommendation, always please provide proof of funds as per your LICO amount, because it is your responsibility to show that you can economically establish yourself as a permanent resident. So yeah, either provide proof of your employment in Canada with your pay stubs, employment letter, or proof of funds as per your family size for your LICO. I'm on dummy extension work permit and I have received my ITA. Should I withdraw the dummy permit before applying for a bridge open work permit? Well, if you do withdraw your dummy, which is the reason why you are on a maintained status, then you lose your status and then you will be applying for bridge open work permit with restoration. And then you can't work until bridge open work permit is approved, and therefore completely defeats the purpose of you having made the dummy in the first place. So what you can do is, instead, once you have submitted your PR application, raise a web form for your work permit, send a copy of your AOR, request them to consider your dummy as your bridge open work permit, and wait. Once they decide upon the dummy, so two things will happen. Either they will accept your request and approve your dummy as bridge open work permit, has happened with so many people in the past, or they will refuse your dummy and then you will be in the situation where you want to be in the first place anyways. So at that point of time, you will be out of status. You can apply for bridge open work permit with restoration. So that's what you can do. Study permit valid till April 26, but study ends in partner study permit valid till April, but study ends in December. Can I apply spouse open work permit now? I'm out of status. Do I restore as a visitor or worker? You can't technically, because in order for you to apply for your work permit, their permit has to be valid for at least 16 months. If their permit is valid till April 26, so you can't apply for your permit. Plus, you will have to provide their proof of their studies. Also, please bear in mind that the study permit becomes invalid 90 days after the completion of studies. So in your case, you might not be able to apply for a spouse open work permit at this point of time. And because you are already out of status, it is better for you to restore your status as a visitor rather than as a worker. It is a safer bet. I want to say thank you. I came to your live video to ask if I can use LMIA from Kubeir and CEC. You said it is 50-50. I can try. I got my ACOPR this week. I applied from the last CZ draw with LMIA 5. I am so glad to hear that, Tawfiq. This is one of those examples that if you do consider advice, if you do consider information, and then of course do your research, because the credit is yours, not for me for sure, because you're the one who took that advice, who did your research, added it in your application and took the chance. And I'm glad that you were able to get that last draw with the LMIA and get those points. And congratulations, well done. My sister landed in Canada, got her PR and all documents, and then went back to India to wrap up her stuff. She'll return in a couple of months. Can I still claim sibling points? Well, you can, yes. I mean, her residence has to be in Canada. So, of course, the person can travel. There is no restriction on traveling as long as the primary residence continues to be in Canada. Of course, you will have to provide proof of residence in Canada, which could be employment, utility bills, lease or mortgage or insurance, any of those documents. Working remotely on contract for a Canadian employer while being physically outside Canada counts as foreign experience, or is this gray area? Wages received in home country, bank. It is not a gray area. It is 100% foreign work experience. You are physically outside Canada. You are working for an employer. Doesn't have to be Canada, could be any country. And you're working as an independent you're working as an independent contractor, self-employed. You're getting paid in your home country. You're paying taxes over there. 100% legit foreign work experience. There is no problem with this at all. PCC issued Jan 25 for India from Canada still valid. It is valid until your next visit to India. Make sure you add a cover letter saying that you got the PCC while you were outside India and that you still haven't gone back, and it should be considered valid. Postgraduate work permit is expiring in May. 8 months from now, I have AOR, and should I apply for bridge open work permit? What duration IRCC grants, 6 months or for 2 years? My recommendation is always to apply for bridge open work permit. And the reason for that is, God forbid, you may have made an error and your PR application gets refused. And then you may not have a chance to apply for a bridge open work permit. Therefore, apply. I mean, and even if you do apply for a bridge open work permit, it might not get approved on time, right? So therefore, apply for bridge open work permit at the earliest. Because if your PR application gets refused, they will not approve your bridge open work permit. So you're hoping that your bridge open work permit gets approved. So what will happen in this case? If your PR application gets approved, you can withdraw your bridge open work permit, so you get your money back, or they will cancel it anyways because you are now a permanent resident. They can't give you a work permit. Okay. And if your bridge open work permit is actually approved, well, then the whole purpose is for you to have legal valid status and authorization to continue working. God forbid, in case your PR application is refused. And bridge open will be approved for 1 to 2 years, and you can again extend it depending on whether you reapply or not. Foreign skilled work experience gained while being in a full-time bachelor's program will be counted for express entry work experience requirement or not? Yes. Any work experience that you have while you were studying outside Canada. So you were studying outside Canada, and at the same point of time you were working. That work experience is legit, it counts. Even for those people who had internship, you were a CA, your accounting internship, you were a dentist, your house job, you were a surgeon or a doctor or a physician, and your period of mandatory internship, all of that is valid work experience if it is paid. Okay, so any work experience while you are studying outside Canada is eligible, is legit, is acceptable, as long as it is paid and under a valid knock code. 2-year diploma from abroad equivalent to diploma in Canada plus 2-year Canadian diploma. Will I get extra points for abroad diploma or only Canadian diploma, Canadian one? Well, the point is that you get points only for one diploma. So whether it's inside Canada, outside Canada, it doesn't matter. You'll get points only for one diploma. If you had at least one program which was for 3 years, then you would have got points for 2 or more degrees or certificates. In your case, both of the programs are 2 years, so you get points only for one 2-year diploma. Currently, I'm on an approved medical leave. How to include it in work history and personal history? Does it need to be included in employer reference letter too? You would show this period as unemployed, and then you will explain it as a letter of explanation, and you can mention it even when you're completing your forms in your personal history. The category of the work will be unemployed, and then you will show as approved medical leave, and you will show whatever the period of time is. 3 weeks needed to claim 3 years foreign experience. I'm planning to go to India in October 13 and work remotely, Canada job. I can't mention this experience in EE profile as future date is not accepted. If I get IT on September 30th, can I go back and claim? I can't understand your question. You are 3 weeks short of your 3 years foreign experience. You are planning to go to India in October 13. Well, the point is that if you don't have 3 years of foreign work experience, then in the system, you should make adjustments in your period of work to show that you haven't completed 3 years, and don't get an ITA beforehand, right? Because this is a future date that you will, so you haven't completed 3 years, but you're getting the ITA, right? In this case, I would recommend that you make the changes to your work experience to show that it is 2 years, 11 months at this point of time and not 3 years, so that you don't get an ITA, so that you don't spoil somebody else's opportunity. And once you do complete your work experience, then you update your profile to show that you have now completed your 3 years of work experience, and then you can get your ITA in the subsequent draw. LPN in Alberta on an open work permit with FTE 0.8 PT. Does this, I have no idea what is LPN FTE 0.8 PT. Does this count as FT, IP, DHP 6 months? I'm so sorry, but I have no idea what we are referring to. I mean, I know PT, FT probably is full-time, part-time. And I'm not sure what you refer by DHP, and I'm not sure what you mean by LPN FTE. So I'm really sorry. PR approved with non-accompanying spouse. Reason gave PR approved. Okay. Reason gave boost CRS to get ITA. Any risk of revocation of my PR when sponsoring my spouse? No, in this case, since you have already mentioned very clearly in your application that you are showing your spouse as not accompanying just to boost your CRS score, then there is no reason for them to revoke your status. Non-EEOINP applied with spouse and kid, AOR not received, work permit expiring in December. Can I apply bridge open work permit? Is my spouse and kid eligible? What are my options? Well, this is the only option. Very close to the expiration of your work permit, you apply for your bridge open work permit and your spouse's status and your child's status, and add a letter of explanation that your status is expiring. This is the proof that you've already applied for your PR, and that once you get your AOR, you will send it through the web form. And then when you do get your AOR, send it through the web form. Unfortunately, this is the only option that you have to work. Of course, you can choose to change it to change your status to a visitor, but in that case, then you can no longer work. No TRV currently on implied status for spouse open work permit while I wait my PGWP. My spouse needs to travel urgently. Can she apply for a visitor visa from outside Canada? Will her spouse open work permit still be approved? So TRV has got nothing to do with spouse open work permit approval. Okay. So spouse open work permit will be approved when it will be approved. The TRV you can apply after you have the approval for your spouse open work permit. It will be easier. You can always go outside Canada and you can apply for TRV anyways. You can show them that you have already applied for spouse open work permit, but they may not approve your TRV. So if you're applying for TRV, it is better to apply after you have received the approval of your work permit. Is a T4 contract job eligible for CEC? I have a 6 months contract with a letter from the staffing company. Should the client company be mentioned or the staffing company's address is enough in the job letter? T4 contract is eligible, no problem. It's the T4A which is not eligible. T4A is independent contractors. That is considered as self-employed. That is not acceptable. That is not eligible. But T4 contract basically means it's a fixed term contract that you're working as an employee, but for a fixed period of time. Your employer will be your staffing company. In brackets, you can mention the name of the client, and then you can add a letter of explanation as well. Your staffing company in their letter can also mention that you were subcontracted to the client company, whatever that might be. Should she wait for spouse open work permit to be approved before applying for visitor visa? Yes, I think I answered that question. I received an ITA as a single applicant, but now my spouse and I have improved our IELTS scores, which brings our CRS score above cutoff. Can I add my spouse and submit our updated? Technically, yes, you can do that, but there is a small, tiny amount of risk. That is that you got your IELTS scores after getting an ITA, which is against the A11.2 criteria, which says that at the time you received your ITA, you should have been eligible to receive the ITA, right? So if you have your spouse should have been included anyways, right? That's the whole point that IRCC has a problem with, as to your spouse being in Canada and you not including your spouse. So there is a small percentage of chance which you're risking here, but it is still a better chance or better risk to take than to show your spouse as not accompanying, which has a much higher chance of being refused. So if I was you, I would do it. I would add my spouse, I would show the updated English language scores, and I would go ahead with it. Study permit for part-time CPA studies is expiring soon. I'm back in India since my work permit expired. Apply for new study permit or can extend from outside Canada. Can I apply new study permit before expiry of current study permit? Because you're not in Canada, there can be no extension. It will have to be for a new study permit from outside Canada, and you will have to explain why you are making an application from outside Canada and why is it that you did not complete your studies. Or if you have a valid TRV, you can always go back to Canada and apply for extension from inside Canada. Chance, oh, we answered this question. Last year, income below super visa limit, but this year is above. Can I apply? If approved while parents in Canada on a visitor, PP will stamp in Canada. For a super visa, your parents have to be physically outside Canada. That is the basic requirement. So if your parents are in Canada on a visit visa, you cannot apply for a super visa. And if the income is above the threshold, then yes, you would be eligible to apply after your parents have left Canada. Work permit expired, restoration ends 3rd of November, but French exam booked after that. Can I stay to write exam, visitor record extension possible, or leave and return as V1 stamp till November? Well, either you apply for restoration of status with a visitor record, or you leave Canada and then return back. Whatever you choose, always please be in Canada on status, on valid status. What is the status of Francophone Mobility Program? As of right now, it continues. There is no problem. It has not been reset officially. Yes, there is more strictness in the application process. But as of right now, as long as you have CLB level 5 in speaking and listening, and you have a job offer with a $230 compliance fee paid, then you are still eligible to apply for a work permit under Francophone Mobility. Sister's work permit expired in August. Best options for her. Go back, gain points, or stay here and join some study courses. Well, staying in Canada does not give you advantage. And if whatever you are choosing to study in Canada, if that adds additional points for you, then fair enough. But if going back to your home country and gaining that foreign work experience, preferably in a category occupation, healthcare, trades, education, then that would be certainly a better recommendation. I want to apply for Bridge Open Work Permit after my PR AOR. If my PR application is refused, will my bridge be automatically cancelled? No, your bridge will continue to be valid until the expiry date on the bridge. So that is one of the biggest reasons why you should apply for bridge after you submit your PR application. It remains valid. Got PR as a single, will adding my spouse now cause a PL for not declaring common law since we lived 2 years in shared housing with housemates, kept separate finances, never disclosed? Well, when you say never disclosed, now what is the question here? At the end of the day, what you're asking me for is a very tricky one, which needs to be understood in a better manner. Were you already in a common law relationship and you did not disclose? And if you did not disclose, why didn't you disclose? Yes, that is considered as misrepresentation by you not disclosing your relationship correctly. However, this will entirely depend on how your relationship developed. If your relationship developed and if you became common law partners after, or your 1 year of common law relationship was completed after you became PR, then it's not a problem. Simply explain it in that manner. But if you're already common law partners, you had already completed your 1 year of common law relationship before you became PR, that's a very big problem. Can I claim 2 or more points if my Canadian diploma, uh, 21 plus Indian bachelors were distance correspondence and online based on, both were concurrent? Yes, you can. If you have completed, if you have a WES for or ECA for your bachelor's degree in India, and at the same point of time you also got a Canadian diploma, doesn't matter if it was concurrent, then you can still claim points for 2 or more. I'm already a PR holder. Partner is a Canadian born citizen. She did not sponsor me. We just got married. Do I need to update IRCC of marital status? No, you're not required to, because you're already a permanent resident, and therefore there is no requirement or condition for you to update your status with any authority, except for CRA. CRA, you must, of course, show your status correctly. Any chances of a CEC draw? I'm at 524. Well, I'm very optimistic. I stay forever hopeful. I'm quite optimistic that there should be a CEC draw. We have 3 more months to go. We did talk about this in detail earlier. My PCC has expired, but I have not traveled back to India since it was issued. In this case, do I need to obtain a new PCC? No, you don't need to. Your police clearance, if it was obtained while you were outside India and you haven't returned back, then you may use the same PCC. Make sure you add a cover letter which says that you got this PCC while you were outside the country. You did not go back, and it should be considered as valid. With your guidance, we became PR 2 years back. Now we will seek your guidance for citizenship. Please let us know how we can hire your team. Nitesh, thank you so much. It really, really makes me feel really warm and fuzzy when I see this kind of comments. Please, by all means, just drop us an email, support@askkubeir.com, and we'll be extremely delighted to support your application again. Thank you so much for your trust and your faith. I completed distance learning bachelor's from India while working full-time under tier 1 here in Canada at the same time. Can I claim the points for both? I completed distance learning bachelor's from India. Yes, you can. There is no problem at all. Just make sure you can get your ECA for your bachelor's degree. TRV applied inside Canada, got correspondence letter, but received passport request. Can I submit my passport from India? Yes, you can. You can for your temporary residence application, no matter where it gets approved from, where you submitted your application. Once you get your passport request, you can submit to any visa office, for any Canadian visa office for stamping. 518 CEC chances. I feel CEC 518 has a decent chance. It's pretty good, but again, depends on how frequently IRCC conducts it. I mentioned the wrong job start date in my closed work permit application and also in my spouse's open work permit application. Can I enter the correct date in my express entry profile? Oh, well, yes, you can. I hope that the wrong date is just a matter of few weeks or months and not really significant. But yes, you can. I mean, I hope you will be able to explain it in case there is any discrepancy or IRCC raises a concern. But yes, you should obviously explain it and correct it in your PR application. Will local PCC be valid or BLS mandatory for PR application? Well, you can check the IRCC website. It mentions what all police clearances they accept. They accept the police clearance issued by Indian consulate, and they also accept police clearance issued by DSP office in the local police station. But that is subject to jurisdiction, so please make sure that it applies to you. I have 1 year, 4 months in NOC and 10 months in NOC. CRS 490. If OINP human capital priorities target 11202 on another priority occupation draw, am I eligible to be invited for the less than 1 year? No, you are not. The main requirement for human capital priorities is that your work experience is for 1 year in that occupation, which is your primary occupation. There might be some exemptions there. I think they did change certain conditions, but take a look at the Ontario website. They do list down any exemptions that are there, especially for the Canadian work experience. I think it was reduced to 6 months, if I'm not wrong, uh, as long as both the occupations are part of that priority list. So just take a look at it. I think the updated information is available on the Ontario website. I don't remember it on top of my head. Last week, laid off from the job in Canada. Uh, Wife works in IT. Can I apply for an open work permit? No, you can't. You can only apply for an open work permit if your wife has a closed work permit, or if your wife is studying a master's degree of 16 months in Canada. Then you can apply for an open work permit. Or, of course, if you're applying for a vulnerable open work permit. ITA September 3 with CRS 538. That's an excellent score. My 1 year work completes in September. Husband's 2 years, October 30th. Birthday, October 13th. Deadline, November 2. When should I submit my PR application? On the 1st of October. If you claimed your husband's 2 years experience, did you claim your husband's 2 years experience? In that case, I would submit on the 1st of November. Yes, 1st of November is when you should submit, and your birthday doesn't matter. So if your birthday falls between the ITA and your AOR, it will not impact your scores negatively. I'm applying express entry spouse inside Canada, but I'm applying as not accompanying. If I mention the reason for not accompanying, is the CRS score, will it affect? Yes, it will affect. Absolutely. As of right now, IRCC is very, very strict, and this is the reason why they are not accepting the applications. This might get your applications refused right away. Started working in September as a cook at a high school in express entry, has already calculated points for 2 years. My actual 2 years will be completed in Jan, but this is because of public holidays and vacation. Okay, so I hope you submit your application only after you complete your valid period of work, which is in Jan. Yeah, that's basically all I can tell you. Yes. 10-year validity of foreign work experience, is it counted backwards, ITA or AOR? It is counted backwards from the day you submit your PR application. So on the day you submit your PR application, which is also your AOR date, then count backwards. That is where all eligibility starts, whether it's 3 years for Canadian experience class or 10 years for the validity of your work experience. Got SINP nomination in January, applied for PR, still haven't got AOR. When can I expect? Well, AORs are taking time. Process times for non-express entry PR applications is about 22 months average. So it's taking about a year to get, 1 year about to get your AORs. My employer reused my exact same PR letter for my colleague and only changed the name. I got PR last year, so will IRCC create issues for me in future? No, not at all. If you are already approved, then you don't have to worry about your employer using your letter and giving it to somebody else. That's not your concern. Any chances of 522 next year? Well, I personally believe 522 is an excellent score at any point of time. I think it will always have a good chance. Got Saskatchewan nomination in Jan, applied for PR in Feb, still haven't got AOR. When can I expect the AOR? Approximately 1 year is what we anticipate. Any chance of Ontario doing draws for Southern Ontario before the end of the year? I have no way of saying whether they will or when they will. Absolutely no way of saying it. Work expired. If score CLB French, can get work permit. Well, you can, if you score CLB 5 in speaking and listening, and if you have an employer who's willing to give you a job offer, pay $230 compliance fee, then yes, you may still be able to apply for a closed work permit. Work periods are July to August and Jan to present. System shows 2 years in October, but I haven't completed it yet. If I get a draw next, should I accept or wait? You should hit accept it. And when it comes to submission, you should submit your PR application only after you have completed your legal valid period of work. I did post ATIP notes from IRCC as well, where they have also confirmed that you should continue with your application and submit it only after you complete your legal valid period of work. My dummy got rejected. I am leaving Canada within 90 days. Do I need to apply for restoration? Yes, you do. Uh, just because you have lost your status, 90 days restoration doesn't mean that is 90 days for you to continue staying in Canada extra. That is what people always confuse it. Everybody thinks I'm on a restoration period as if it is a 90 days free period given to you by IRCC. That is not the case. That 90 days period is given to you by IRCC only if you want to restore your status. It is not, see, your status is always mentioned on your work permit, study permit, visitor record. It says leave by the date. The date has been mentioned. So they're telling you leave by which date. If the date has expired or if you have lost status, automatically you don't get 90 more days to stay in Canada without applying for anything. That is a huge myth and misunderstanding that people have. That 90 days is given to you to apply for restoration. And if you don't want to apply for restoration, then you should have left by the date your application has been refused or the date of your expiration. So if you're choosing to live in Canada, please apply for restoration. I have my Indian work experience letter. An official letterhead also have pay stubs, but it was under tax bracket at that time. I worked as a production manager for a small textile warehouse for 3 years. Okay, what's the question? We don't know what's the question here. I have my Indian work experience letter on official letterhead, also have pay stubs, but it was under tax bracket. Well, if you have your documentation, if you have your work experience letter, you have your pay stubs, you have your bank statements that show the salary transfer, that's good enough. I will be on dummy on Jan. My score is 522. Should I wait here or wait in India? Should I apply dummy, please? As I don't understand your question, but you dummy is, if dummy is not giving you any advantage, and if you want to be waiting in India and that is perfectly fine with you, then by all means, please wait in India. That would be much more advantageous. Human capital priority website. There is no human capital priority website. Says 6 months under CEC targeted occupation or targeted category occupation. I'm not sure what your question is. Yeah, can't figure out what the question is. Family class applicant living in Canada on study permit graduating in April. Should I apply for postgraduate work permit or open work permit? With open work permit, can I work full-time after graduation? No. If you wish to work immediately after graduation, then you should apply for a postgraduate work permit. And the reason is that you may have applied for a family class permanent residence, but you are currently on a study permit. Now, from study permit, you will be applying for an open work permit on the basis of your PR application issued to you, provided to you by the option provided to you by your PR application. This is change of status from study permit to work permit. This does not give you authorization to work. Okay. The only authorization to work will come to you from your postgraduate work permit application. So if you wish to work after your graduation, then please apply for postgraduate work permit. I'm on a visitor record and received an ID under trade and submitting my PR application. Can I visit India in mid-November and come back after a month? Yeah, absolutely. You can visit. There is no problem. After you submit, I do not know why there is this common myth that people have that they can't travel. Of course you can travel. You submit your PR application, travel the next day. The only reason why I say travel the next day is because it may impact the police clearance requirement if you travel before submitting your PR application, if you go back to the same country or whatever that might be. But after you have submitted your PR application, there is no restriction whatsoever. Please travel, please go travel the world, no problem. To return back to Canada, you need a valid TRV and of course your status if you need to have status. But if you have a valid TRV, you can return back to Canada. Agriculture category draw 470. I would think yes, it should be pretty decent score. I don't see too many people who are butchers in the pool. If I apply for a work permit after AOR, but before PR decision and my PR is refused, is my work permit application still valid? Work permit application is valid, but because it hasn't been decided upon, it will be refused because your PR application is refused. But if your bridge open work permit gets approved, then even if your PR application is refused, it doesn't matter, your bridge open work permit will remain valid. Can you move after getting an AIP PR in 6 months within Atlantic region or another province, or will it make any issues? Well, the whole point of giving you the Atlantic Immigration Program endorsement is because of your intention to reside in that region or in that province. If you move very quickly, means you don't want to live there anyways, and that would be misrepresentation. So please be very careful. The whole idea is for you to establish your life, or to show that you have made enough effort to establish your life in that province, in that region. Waiting for PNP approval. My postgraduate work permit is expiring. Ways to restore my status if under LMIA. If I move out of LM Ontario, will I get PNP? Waiting for my PNP approval. Well, if you're waiting for your PNP approval, then the province itself will give you the nomination, will give you work permit supporting letter with the nomination. If you move out of the province, then you may no longer be eligible for that nomination either. The idea is that depending on which, we do not know what stream you are, so I have no idea what stream you're talking about here. But most of the PNP streams in Ontario, unless it's human capital priority or a skill trade, they are all, or of course the master's graduate or PhD, they're all linked to employer. And if they are linked to employer, then you should continue to be working for that employer until you become PR. So please be very careful with what that one. Family class applicant living in Canada, after a passport request, should it be sent via VFS or directly to Ottawa from within Canada? If you are a family class applicant living in Canada, then if you have a passport request, you should raise a web form. You should tell them that, listen, I'm already inside Canada. Please activate my virtual landing. Therefore, they will then send you a portal request. If you are a permanent residence applicant in Canada and you get a passport request for your approval of your permanent residence, please send a web form, request IRCC to send you a portal request for virtual landing, because you are already inside Canada. You don't need to send your passport for stamping. Follow up to our previous question, HCP website says 6 months under CEC targeted occupation as targeted occupation from 10 months experience. And again, my friend, I have no idea what you're asking me here. The Ontario website, all the timelines are out. I mean, so they are not complying with any timelines. And there are lots and lots of people who are still waiting for their nominations from March, April of 2024. And Ontario has been holding back a lot of nominations. They probably will start releasing them once they get their quotas reset next year. Well, this one was good. Thank you so much for joining in. It was lovely catching up. And I shall see you again next time, next week. Until then, stay forever hopeful.